Daisy chains and sweet champagne, and 2 days alone with you. Not too far from the city by car, or maybe we can make a more romantic trip by train to the country. It's where I want to be with you for the week.
Good morning. Morning, everyone. Welcome to Heritage Homestead Creations. It is a beautiful, let's see if we can get some light on this, clear blue sky. A little hazy over this way. The humidity is extraordinarily high. T is over working and pulling out the weeds and stuff. That's a never-ending job, and she does an amazing job of it, but we've gotten behind. I should be helping her, but we got other projects on deck, and that leads us into today, which is part 15 of our apple press build. So, my friends, apologize for not getting things out sooner, because it's been quite a few weeks since the two weeks at least since the last, before the 4th, beginning of the month, and well, it's a lot of things going on, you know, on the homestead. So let's talk about a few things. One, we've had to do a lot of work out here. That's one thing. You got to maintain your food. So our biggest creation is what we feed ourselves. And on top of that, I've got my community here, and I've spent a lot of time working with them to help them. And I've tried to work and help myself in a lot of ways. But I have spent some time on the apple presses. And today we're going to make another big hit on the apple presses. And so it's been tough. It's been tough the last few weeks. The heat has been pretty hot, as you saw in some of the previous apple press videos. I was sweating, drenched, pretty nasty. Oh, that's cool. Right on top of that little piece of post right there is a skink lizard, and it just crawled on the other side. That was neat. Oh, you can see it. If I went over there, it's on top of the hanger for the gutter. Love the animals around here. Anyway, there's been a few days here where I couldn't get much done because of the heat. We had a front come through a week or so ago, dropped a ½ inch of rain, and within days you couldn't even tell it. It was so dusty dry out here. It wasn't crazy. I couldn't do much because it went right back up into the upper 90s, and that was a little bit much for me to handle the heat with the humidity. However, yesterday I did manage to get a jump on some things, and you can see still more chores around the homestead that need to be done. I've got to do a lot of weeding again since we have gotten rain. All the grass goes. But yesterday I focused on the shop, and I did a few things in here, and you may recognize some relocation of things, and some things have changed because we're using the generator to run both of our AC units. We got 2 window units. The solar is running 1 now, so I can max out 3 freezers on this, and 1 AC unit in pure sun like this. I can run really nicely, but when we get partly cloudy and it gets really, really hot, I've been using the generator over there to run both of the air conditioning units to keep the inside of the cabin cool. Which means I haven't had my big power unit generator sitting here to run things like the table saw, the lathe, and whatnot. So yesterday I said I've had enough of this. If the generator is going to stay over here, we're going to work this over. We're going to finish the electrical, and I pretty much have done that. Reconfigured my battery system for 24 volt. Brought my bigger inverter out here. Got everything mounted. You can see wired up into the panel, and I finished wiring all the outlets and switches. And I've got my lighting set up. I bought these years ago, and I've been carrying them with me for a long time in order to have them for the shop. So we've got all the lights. So we got some serious lighting in here. LED shop lights. There, and of course there. And the outside light here. And we're still not sure what kind of bulbs we want in there, because eventually we'll have a deck here in the front so that I can do some work out here and out here at night and be able to have light and such. So there you go, my friends. There are creations occurring. Some of you will have seen the big log that we milled out on the mill. That was a fun project, but it is time, like I said, to get back to working on these. So after the long intro, let's talk about where we are so far. As of the last video, I think I showed you, I don't remember what I showed you, but we had gotten the assembly done of the scratter boxes and the scratter barrel. Let's set this here and this here. So we got the scratter barrel in there. So if I turn, see if I can do that. Yeah, you can see I turn that and it chews up the apples or the zombies or whatever. And I got the work done on the press plates. So we were working on them, and I was showing you the handle. So those are all complete. Everything is equally up to speed. All three of them are equally up to speed. And I have spent a day getting drenched in sweat while I made the slats. Now these are the barrel slats for the press barrels underneath. And that's what we're going to work on today. So in order to do these, there's a few things that we want to talk about to get this set up. I have them ripped out, and as you can see, they are trapezoidal. They are 1 inch, essentially 1 inch by 1 inch. It's a little bit different because of the way that it's cut, but there's a 7-degree angle on each one. So when I was cutting these, I'd rip them on the table saw, and then I'd take my stock board, flip it over, rip it again, so that would mirror out the trapezoidal shape. And the reason you do that is because when you get this wrapped around on itself, you want gaps in here to allow the juices to come out, and you want it in such a way that it doesn't bind up, because once you get all the apple pulp pressed down, it can pack up against these, and you want to be able to get the pulp out fairly easily. So we got a little bit of work to do on these. Each one of these is going to have to get kind of sanded on all the edges on the ends, and then again on each one of these corners just to smooth them out, because the press barrel requires a screen of some sort or some kind of fabric to keep the pulp from just coming out and going all over the place, because there's going to be enough of a gap in here between these that the pulp can come out. So there's two things that we generally use. We'll either use some what's known as flour cloth or muslin cloth. That could be purchased at your local Wally World or online, or we use a nylon laundry bag, which is, I don't have one here at this time, but it's really effective in it. It's the laundry bag works really well because you can set it down in there, and then the whole bag comes up. It's got a little drawstring. You don't really need the drawstring on it, but It has the right kind of meshing network, and it cleans up better, and it doesn't stain. The apple juice and apple pulp will stain the mucilin or the cotton cloth that is used. But either way, you need something to filter it. So you want to keep these edges nice and smooth so you don't snag in your fabric. So all of these need to be sanded, and you can see I think it was 90 of them I came up with. What do we got here? You don't want to go back in there. Whew. Let's see. 5, 10 times 3, 4, 5, 9, yeah, 90 of them. There's 90 of them. I think I calculated 80 for 26 for that one, 28 for that one, and 26 for that one. This was a little bit bigger, and that was 80. And then I want an extra slot for spare parts for each one too. So got a bunch of them made up, and now that I've got them made up, as soon as I get them sanded, the next big step is to lay them out. And I've got to build a jig here. This is going to be the challenge, is to build a jig so that I can repeatedly do this. And where's all my parts? My parts and pieces are right here. So I'm going to have to make a jig that will hold all the slats in place, allow me to hold the strap down. And as you can see, all the little holes in it, and then hold all the slats, flip them over, hold all the slats at the proper spacing, nice and parallel, so that when I put this on there, that I can pre-drill and screw all of these properly. It's a bit of a challenge to set this up. The jig I had up in Montana, I didn't bring with me, or I disassembled, or something happened, and I don't know. So I don't have it. So I got to make a new jig. That's the project for today, getting those sanded and maybe getting those drilled. All right, folks, we'll see where we get and catch back with you in a bit. And here we are about an hour and a half later, and it's getting hotter out there, folks. I'm already drenched, not sure how long I can handle this heat this afternoon. Probably quit around lunchtime. But we are making some progress on the jig and the slats. So I have the jig put together, and basically using the board as a underlayment and a frame around it. As you can see, fairly simple. I've ripped out some of the these gold bars into some 3/4 inch slats, which are essentially the same as the slats that we have here, and it varies a little bit by thickness on a couple of those boards. Some are just a hair thicker, and so that changes things here and there. With it being thicker, when you run them through, that changes the dimension just a hair because of the standoff against the angle of the table saw. So I had to do some making of these, and this is something new I'm doing. I didn't do it before. Before, I just simply would hold this in alignment with the center here on both of them, and I'll have to get the other strap cut and installed on here so that I can have them aligned too, to pre-drill into the oak and then screw into the oak. But the point is, last time I didn't do this, and this time I'm like, well, let me see if I can come up with a way to lock everything in place so that it doesn't slide around, because it was a little difficult to do that. It was a little bit of a challenge to do that. T and I both worked on it, and she'd kind of help hold things down while I'd pre-drill and screw, and that wasn't as much fun. So I wanted to improve my jig system here for making these this go round, and I think I just did. I think I did a good job of it. I created 3 different widths of spacers, and it's really hard to see that. You almost can't tell the difference. You almost can't tell the difference. They're trapezoidal just like the other sticks, so that they fit in there flat and snug on all of them. But I like this little system a little bit better. It'll be easier to make and put these together. Now, I still have to sand all of these and get them ready to go in here before I screw them together. But I think the jig is pretty much ready to go. And I also have to, of course, like I said, drill out the straps. So these are a little thicker than 3/4 inch. They're not quite 7/8 thick boards. Plain down. You can see there's a couple of them I didn't quite get the bandsaw marks off of, but we'll sand that down. And it'll all be just fine. The important part is that they are the trapezoidal, so that when they close in, the internal gap there closes in between these. And they are all really nice, true, straight grain. They'll be strong, and they should last a long, long time. So, anyway, quite a bit of work just to get this and get the alignments and making sure that your angle is square here. So, what will matter is by the time we get done here, when we wrap all this around on itself, is if these last few holes will align perfectly with the overlap, so that we'll put the screw through probably 3 to 4 slats depending upon the overlap of this, so that you have 4 screws, 3 to 4 screws that will literally hold the overlap and hold the barrel together. You'll see that here shortly. But it's not a quick process. There's a lot involved into doing this, and you got to think about this from an industrial standpoint. You know, every part and piece that is made for everything that we use has to go through this kind of engineering process. And considering all the different parts and pieces on this, it's time consuming, and it's laborious. And if you're hand making each one of these things, you know, that's a part of the craftsmanship, and it also creates slight deviations in each one and each thing. So it's, you know, it's not like it's going to be perfectly machined by a CNC machine. Now, we could, you know, get that process done to where everyone is exactly the same, but then it wouldn't have the kind of warmth that you have from the hand love that goes into each little part and piece. Alright, I thought I'd show you another improvement that I'm doing this go around. Come on down here close. Right, so these are the band straps that we need to make for the press barrels, as you saw up there with the one that was painted green. And I need to get these holes drilled, and we did it by hand when we did it before, and we just mark out each one, and I go along and I drill out each one. I'm like, I could do this better. So I've come up with a jig here, and if you ever need to do something similar to this is a handy way of doing it. So these need to be centered on the strap and 1.5 inches apart from each other. So I want some consistency on that, because those holes up on that one weren't as consistent. And you know, anytime we can improve things, we do. So what I did was I took this 2x4 here, I ran it through the planer to smooth it out, clean it out, so it's a little easier to work with, and the table saw, so I got it good and square. And then I ran a channel through here on the table saw and got it to the 3/4 inch. This is exactly 3/4 inch wide, and I think I got a pretty good little system here on this jig. So we've got it set up, so I've got my little pre-drill or clearance hole, and then I can move it forward, and I put a screw in here. So there's a screw in there, and I cut the head off once I got it in location exactly 1.5 inches over. So let's run through this a couple of times. So if I snap that down on there, then I can drill, move it over, snap it down on there, drill, move it over, snap it down on there. This is a lot faster than what I was doing before. I'm surprised I didn't come up with this before. But you see how that works? And this keeps me well aligned in the channel. I have a long enough channel here. And I can actually move through this a lot quicker. Just like that. Anyway, folks, you know, anytime you can do something like that. Here we go. Anytime we can do something like this, oh my goodness.
It's stinking hot.
It is stinking hot. Anytime you can do something like this, try and find a way to make yourself a jig. The art of jig making is woodworkers' biggest secrets, or any creator's secrets if they're going to be building something on a regular basis. I just went through that a whole lot quicker on there, and they are so much more uniform and on this. So let's see what we got here if I lay that out. Oh, it's a slightly different spacing than these are. Okay, so I didn't get it the same because I'm running short, which means I can use these because you can see I got plenty of gap here. I can close this. I'm gonna have to change these spacings for this, but that's an inch. Well, it should have been because I gauged it on two of these. I used two of these holes to set it. Yeah, see, they align. But because I did each one of these individually, they wouldn't have been as uniform, and that's why I was having trouble with the spacing. So improvements, little bits here and there, but the heat, I was probably going to cut it short here. Yeah. This is crazy. So anyway, enough lessons learned for today. By the time I get these done, I think we'll catch up next time. Call this the end of this video. Next time we get caught up, I should have all of these sanded and pre-drilled and screwed together. Basically, I should have the barrels put together by the time I catch back up. So that's it for today.